Welcome back, everyone, to the ninth FASCAR race of the 2021 FASCAR season. Today, the FASCAR series goes to the North Wilkesboro Speedway for the North Wilkesboro 250. In the first race at this 5/8 historic short track in North Carolina, for the first time since 1996. Um, and yeah, it is a historic day as the return to the Speedway has been rumored and been worked on for a few years, a little bit under the radar. But fast car officials, along with the company that owns the track, SMI, managed to make a deal to make this happen as part of the revitalization of the schedule and realignment of the schedule going going into this year and then the future. So, taking a look at the standings summary, the top 20 of the drivers, no real changes except for Chase Briscoe hopping into the top 20. Brad Keselowski and Christopher Bell move up one position after Michael McDowell suffered an engine failure at the Crown Jewel Dega 500 last week. Ryan Preece, with his victory, moves up to third. And again, since this is a non-Crown Jewel event, the top 20 automatically make the start of the race. And should make sure to clarify, not the top 20 you see here on screen, the top 20 after the seventh race of the season, which you'll see in the qualifying screen. And then Joe Gibbs, again, still on top. Now 5 teams have wins, with JTG Darty the most recent to win, and who was able to move up into third place in the team standings. So looking at qualifying here today, notable failures to qualify, qualify situation from the top 20. Ryan Preece and Cole Custer, two drivers that have been running up front quite often in the past few weeks, drop back to the rear of the field with a very poor qualifying here today. And then those who failed to qualify for the return to North Wilkesboro are the 43 of Eric Jones, the 00 of Quinn Half, the 78 of BJ McLeod, and the largest surprise, the 24 of William Byron, who becomes the first car from one of the powerhouse teams in FASCAR to fail to make a race. And then the number 15 of James Davidson. So taking a look at the starting grid for today's race, Denny Hamlin is on pole. I believe this is his third straight race with the front row start. And then Michael McDowell takes the outside pole in second, followed by Christopher Bell, Martin Truex Jr., Chase Elliott, Kurt Busch, Bubba Wallace, Kyle Busch, Ross Chastain, and Joey Logano rounding out your top 10. Notable qualifiers in the top 20 is the number 51 of Cody Ware, the 13 of James Early, and only his second visit to a short track. The 62 of Noah Gragson continues going strong. And then Matt DiBenedetto, after missing last week's race at Talladega, managing to get a top 20 qualifying position. Looking at rows 11 through 15, no real surprises here. Except for the number 4 of Kevin Harvick, who struggled in qualification and is starting 24th. Kyle Larson, after a strong finish last week, starting 29th is not great, but then again, his qualifying this year has typically been in the low 20s and the high teens. Looking at the final 3 rows here, we've got notable qualifiers in the 53 of Joey Gase and the 66 of Timmy Hill. Again, both being from the more underfunded teams, qualifying over the likes of the 43 of Eric Jones and the 24 of William Byron. Ty Dillon makes another race after making last week's race. Hopefully this week he does not have mechanical issues. And then the 3 cars in the top 20 that really struggled in qualifying, the 7 of LaJoie, the 41 of Custer, and the 37 of Preece. So now, with that being discussed, we take you to the track for the North Wilkesboro 250. And as we take a look here at the cars as they exit pit road to head onto this track, once again, this is a 5/8 mile racetrack, unique for the fact that it has uphill and downhill sections of this track on the front and back stretch. As the cars pull out onto the track, we take a look at the back of the field. Everyone lining up nice 2x2. Looks like no one has had any mechanical issues as we enter turns 3 and 4 for our 100-lap race here today at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Returning to the schedule for the first time since '96, Denny Hamlin gets ready to take the green flag, and the green flag is out, and away we go for the North Wilkesboro 250. And Denny Hamlin gets a good jump off the start and maintains the lead into the first corner. Not much happening up front as we take a look for the rear of the field to see how they're faring out. Again, this short track, which is longer than other short tracks on the schedule, such as Martinsville and Bristol, the more traditional short tracks when one thinks of the FASCAR schedule. It's got about, I'd say, half the banking of the Bristol Motor Speedway, and obviously it is more banked than the flat paperclip of Martinsville. So as we look on board here with the number 42 of Ross Chastain, who's currently fighting for the top 10 with Bubba Wallace and Noah Gragson as we complete lap 2 here. Denny Hamlin leads Michael McDowell, who leads Martin Truex and Kurt Busch and Joey Logano, rounding out your top 5. We take a look back. It looks like Ryan Preece is already starting to carve his way up through the field after starting dead last. A good start from the 66 of Timmy Hill has him running ahead of notable names such as Chase Briscoe, Daniel Suarez, and Preece, who won last week. Obviously, Preece struggled in qualifying for today's race as Denny Hamlin opens up a 3/4 of a second lead on the field. Mostly single file in the top 10, but farther back in the pack you see some 2x2 racing as we complete lap 4 here at North Wilkesboro. Another notable mover, the number 62 of Noah Gragson, jumping his way into the top 10. This is not a surprise due to the driver, as Gragson is quite an aggressive driver in the lower levels of FASCAR and is known for getting the most out of his equipment, which has been shown by the fact that he is still running weekly in the Beard Oil Motorsports car. A car, which I may remind you, was only supposed to run 13 races this season. And Denny Hamlin has extended his lead over Michael McDowell, although it has closed up. But those two have started to check out from third place Martin Truex Jr. as we complete lap 6 and on to lap 7 here at North Wilkesboro. As we now go to the back of the pack to see the 8 of Tyler Reddick really struggling once again. Reddick has had a horrible sophomore season so far in the FASCAR series, and fortunately has the backing of his, as we have a little bit of contact with drivers going 3 wide up front, and Preece has dropped farther back after having a good initial start. Reddick has had, like I was mentioning, a horrible sophomore season, but sources from Richard Childress Racing have told me that Reddick is secure in his seat for next season. A driver, though, that is definitely not secure for his ride next year is the 6 of Ryan Newman, who, after another disappointing day at Talladega, really has a good chance of losing his ride. As you can see, Ty Dillon looking to make a move on Kyle Larson there, getting to the inside with Josh Blickey in the 52, looking to the inside of the 41 as we've got a stack up coming out of 4. It looks like the 41 was being held up by the number 99, creating some contact. As Newman exits out of 1 and 2 for the 10th time. Gets around the outside of Dillon. Dillon, again, in that part-time ride for Gaunt Brothers, has been using this as an opportunity to, showcase his skills for the Cup teams, possibly looking for a new driver next season. And Denny Hamlin has extended his lead out over Michael McDowell to 1.6 seconds as Hamlin has led all of the laps so far here today at North Wilkesboro. Alex Bowman has moved up from his mid-pack starting spot to occupy 7th position and looking to get around the number 18 of Kyle Busch for 5th, or for 6th. As Joey Logano is still holding the inside, but the Busch brothers operating on the outside are able to maintain that momentum as Kurt Busch now swings down to block Joey Logano as Logano slides up a bit, makes a small amount of contact with the 18, and that slows him up, allowing the 18 to get back around on the outside. And here comes Brad Keselowski, your championship leader, looking to get to the inside of Alex Bowman. Fuel strategy here today is a very wide window, as this being the first time returning to the Speedway in nearly 30 years. The strategists don't really know how long both tire wear or fuel consumption how big it will be. So projections are having this being either a 2 or 1 stop race, with pitting starting between lap 30 and 50, or laps 30 and 50. As we take a look on board here with Hamlin, who is comfortably out in front, at least a 2.6 second lead over second place Michael McDowell. McDowell, who's looking again for that bounce back week after the disappointing engine failure at Talladega, needs a good result for the next several weeks to catch back up in the championship standings. As James Early, who is now running in 10th place, looks to the inside of Noah Gragson in the Beard Oil car, as Christopher Bell and Bubba Wallace look to hunt down the top 10. As we go back through the field here, Matt DiBenedetto is having a good day at the track after missing last week's race. Hopefully this is a start of a resurgence for the 21 in the standings, as he has really struggled to get moving this season. I believe he's outside the top 30 in points, which has led to serious doubts about whether he will be driving for the Wood brothers again next year, as Brad Keselowski has found his way around both the 18 and the 48 to move himself into the top 5. Denny Hamlin is really checking out, as his lead has now been extended to 3.7 seconds. And most likely will soon be coming up on the lap cars here in the back of the pack. As you can see, Denny Hamlin is exiting turn 2 just as the back markers enter into turn 3, meaning that there is now less than half a lap between the leader and these back cars. Surprising that Kyle Larson and Ryan Preece have been unable to make much progress up the field. Preece had a good first lap and I believe moved up as far as 30th from his starting position of 36th, but has really struggled to get moving since the first few laps. As we have reached lap 21 here in this race, 1/5 of the way through, pit stops are about, I'd say, 10 to 15 laps away for these cars. As we have small amount of contact from the number 17 and the 12, as the 12 looks to work his way up inside the top 20. Ryan Blaney currently running 24th. Again, one of those drivers that has had a very disappointing start to the season this year, as the field is now mostly single file with drivers only going too wide in order to make a pass, like the number 38 here on the 21. Although, he does make a little bit of contact, pushes the 21 up the track, but is unable to capitalize on it. See, the only other too wide action, actually there is none, as the front group from 4th all the way back to 12th is all bumper to bumper, although the 48 is looking to change that. And the 22 has changed that, as he's looking to the inside of the 62, but the 48 checks up halfway through 1 and 2, and that allows the 62 to power around the outside into 4th place. Oh, and we have a caution. No, it's green. What just happened? It looks like the number 96 has had another mechanical problem that forced him to retire, but he missed the pits. I'm surprised that FASCAR officials did not throw a caution. Another questionable decision by the race officials here at North Wilkesboro, or this season in FASCAR, as there's been several mistakes, I feel, from the race directors. Although, well, at least the 96 was safely able to get back to pit road somehow, although it did seem to stop in turns 3 and 4, as Denny Hamlin continues his domination of this race, having led 26 laps so far, as he passes the stripe to start lap 27. Tyler Reddick is the first car that he is approaching to put a lap down, followed by Ryan Newman. And then again, the surprise of Kyle Larson and Ryan Preece still battling it out back in the pack. Denny Hamlin has really, really opened up that lead, as it is now over 7 seconds. Again, I think the only way for the rest of the field to catch up with the wrap in number 11 today is to get lucky on a caution. Whether the 11 has already pit, or if the 11 gets caught up in lap cars, that might do it as well. But it's really looking like a caution would have to come out to help the rest of the field against Denny Hamlin today. And Denny Hamlin has now caught the back of this last pack. Again, most of them have been being held up by the 53 of Joey Gase, who managed to make the field in quite an impressive run in qualifying. But his race pace does not seem to be there today in his Rick Ware number 53, as he has held up these back 4 cars, other than himself, into the clutches of race leader Denny Hamlin, who again has now approximately an 8-second lead, nearly an 8-second lead over the rest of the field. This lead is over a straightaway long. As you can see, Truex and McDowell have now started to separate themselves from the field, as the rest of the top 10 is all more or less single file behind the number 1 of Kurt Busch. As we go back to Hamlin, he's still not been able to make a move around the 8 of Reddick to put him a lap down. And this is really slowing up his lap times, although it would take quite a few laps stuck behind these slower cars in order to allow McDowell to catch up. But let's see how much that timing changes with Hamlin reaching the back of the lap traffic. It looks like it hasn't changed much, if at all. Again, we just have the 1 retirement from today's race so far, the number 96 hit by mechanical failure once again. As we are now 1/3 of the way through this race, pit stops will be coming shortly. Again, we have been green throughout all of today's race, meaning that it has now been nearly 1.5 races since our last caution. Another great display from the drivers in the top flight of FASCAR. Now we take a look farther back in the top 10. It looks like Brad Keselowski's now looking to take the 5th position and maybe even the 4th position. And yes, he does so, getting the momentum around the outside as we look on board the rear view camera of Kurt Busch. Noah Gragson and James Early are now trying to employ this strategy of riding that outside lane in order to get a greater momentum and a greater, swing out of the corner. As now Gragson pulls back in line with Early, though, staying on that outside, now lining up behind Kurt Busch to get a little bit of the draft. Pulls to the inside Early with a great run into turns 1 and 2, but is unable to make it stick. Another good day for the 13 Union Jack machine, as not qualifying last week, it hurt them badly in the points. Denny Hamlin has not been able to get around these lap cars, but again, surprisingly, McDowell's not been able to cut into the lead at all. It looks like, in fact, the lead has grown by 1/4 of a second, as Ryan Preece now takes up the last position on track. This is crazy. Ryan Preece, last week's Talladega 500 Crown Jewel winner, is running last on speed. Not on strategy. Well, now he's second to last on speed and looking to make a move on Joey Gase as now Hamlin tries to run the outside lane in order to get past the lap traffic. It does so, putting the first and second cars on track one lap down. Obviously, the number 96 is multiple laps down due to his mechanical failure. As we now have some very close to wide racing farther back in the pack, as it looks like Kevin Harvick is looking to make a move around the 12 of Ryan Blaney. This pack seems to be getting held up by the 77 driven by Justin Haley, who's doing an expert job at keeping these faster cars behind him. As now you see the field. Oh, and Justin Haley pulls out the pit. So this confirms what the pit window will look like. It will be between 40 and 50 laps for today's race. Once again, this is now the danger zone. Drivers that decide to come in and pit early to get that undercut and the power of those fresh Goodyear tires really gives up an opportunity to, or really puts themselves at risk of going multiple laps down due to a caution. At the moment, we've only seen one taker, but it looks like a few more cars have pulled into the pit lane. Those look to be the number 38, the 21, the 66, and is that the 1? Yes, and the 1. As we now ride on board with Kyle Larson in his National Guard machine. Larson, again, having a bit of a tough race today as he peels off into the pits and looks to be followed by Ryan Newman and Denny Hamlin. So getting down to pit road speed, Denny Hamlin leading the first 42 laps. Will Michael McDowell stay out in order to get those bonus points? No, he comes in as well. We're going to stay on board with the number 11 here through the pit stops. It looks like no one has stayed out from that lead group, or simply they're just that far behind. Let's take a look at the 77. The 77 is in 35th, one lap down, meaning that he went 2 laps down while Hamlin was in the pits. As you can see, cars exiting. Kurt Busch unlapping himself. All the cars currently on track are at least 1 lap down because Denny Hamlin hit after them. As he comes out and seems to have lapped more cars on the pits. It looks like the 42 of Chastain has had another extremely slow pit stop. As Denny Hamlin rejoins the track again in the lead, now behind the 3 of Austin Dillon. We'll see here once Hamlin crosses the line how many cars are 1 lap down. As we have some more cars still exiting the pits. And it looks like we now only have 29 approximate cars on the lead lap as the pit cycle has seemed to finish. Although the 77 is back in the pits. 77 has taken right side damage and has gone back into the pits. Must have suffered a flat tire during that exchange. Although the 37 seems to have hit again. Let's take a look at the scoring loops. See, no, the 37 must have just exited from the pits, being one of the last to pit. And since he was a lap down, he wasn't able to lead a lap and earn the bonus points. Yes, the 37 is in 28th, 1 lap down. As we approach the halfway point of today's race, it has been completely green so far and completely dominated by the number 11 Toyota of Denny Hamlin. As he looks to lap some of the faster cars in the back of the pack, like the number 3 of Dillon, and approaching the 12 of Ryan Blaney. Going a bit farther back. Oh, Josh Bilicki has damage on his right side. He must have also made contact with whoever hit the 77, as that has cost him some speed on his number 52. As after the pit cycles, it looks like the 1 has jumped the 34 and the 13 has jumped the 2. The Martin Truex in the 19 has been the big loser of this front group, as he has dropped all the way back to 6th place. Although these chasing cars are still 8.5 seconds behind Denny Hamlin on a track that offers a very short lap. As you can see here, the fastest lap of today's race, and those bonus points are currently going to Michael McDowell in the 34 as we start lap 49 here at North Wilkesboro. As you can see, 21.69 seconds is the lap around here, with the average lap probably being about 22 seconds, meaning that Kurt Busch is over a third of the racetrack behind Denny Hamlin. And even though Hamlin is in thick lap traffic here, he doesn't seem to be slowing down. And Kurt Busch hasn't even caught the lap traffic cars in front of him, as we see a little bit of too wide racing up here as Cole Custer looks to get past the 38 of Anthony Alfredo and is unable to do so. But now he dives to the inside, and it looks like he'll have the spot here, although he does check up due to his teammate in front, quite surprisingly, and Alfredo is able to keep the position. Looks like Christopher Bell is another large loser from the pit cycle, as he dropped from the back half of the top 10, front half of the top 15, or of the, like 11th to 15th, and has dropped all the way down to 19th. As now only 25 cars remain on the lead lap here, just past the halfway point at North Wilkesboro. Again, an extremely clean race run so far today. Very impressive by the drivers, as Denny Hamlin looks to put Ryan Blaney and Corey LaJoie another lap down. Hamlin needs to be careful after what happened again to him, or previously to him in lap traffic at Las Vegas, when he was wrecked out from the lead due to an incident between cars that he was trying to lap. So Hamlin must pick and choose his spots very carefully. And honestly, it doesn't matter where he passes them, as no one is making any progress on him. As the 66 seems to be holding up this pack along with the 77 and the 38, as Christopher Bell now tries to go around the outside of Cole Custer and is able to do so. A very good move by the driver in the 20. Oh, and we've got contact. Oh, and we've got cars around. Caution is out. Caution is out here at the North Wilkesboro Speedway, as it looks like all the cars involved are okay. But caution is out, and Ricky Stenhouse and Anthony Alfredo are the cars involved and have been subsequently put one lap down as the pits open for those on the lead lap. Although yes, Anthony Alfredo and Stenhouse are allowed to pass the pace car due to the fact that they were on the lead lap and across the stripe when the incident happened. Though Stenhouse is waiting up for the 38. It just looked like the 38 got loose coming out of the turn number 4 and just collected the 47. As we see all of the leaders pitting, all the cars one lap down are still remaining on the track. Except, no, we have some cars choosing to stay out. I guess they know. I don't know how to feel about this. Denny Hamlin may be able to make it to the end on fuel, but it'd be tight. So I guess the 1, the 2, the 19, the 62, the 48, the 21, the 9, the 23 all have decided to stay out in order to possibly take advantage of the fact that they just pit. They know they're not going to make it to the end on this tank of fuel, but, they might if, it goes green, or they catch a caution and are able to pit a little bit later without losing a lap. This is surprising. So the cars that have unlapped themselves are the 52, the 8, the 42, and the 10. So the 10 is now the control car for today's race, and it looks like the 47 and the 38 now lose a spot, or lose a lap under caution, as the 1 who is the new race leader goes on by. So we will go on board your new race leader for this restart, as the pace car lights are still on, meaning we have at least one more lap to go of caution here at North Wilkesboro. This was the first caution of the race that happened on approximately lap 54 going to 55. Denny Hamlin, who has dominated the early parts of this race, has pit under this caution, meaning he should be close to good to finish this race. Kurt Busch and the top 8 all stayed out, meaning that they will have to pit in order to make it to the end of this race. Again, they are hoping probably for a caution to break out, as cautions breed cautions, and some of the slower cars are now in the front of the pack here. This is quite surprising that we're seeing such a split strategy, as the pace car lights are still on. So we're going to go around one more time, most likely restarting this race on lap 60. Again, it has been mostly a clean race, and I apologize for that. mostly a clean race here today, as again, Denny Hamlin has dominated, put about 10 cars a lap down at least. Justin Haley, due to some contact, went another lap down when he had to make an emergency pit stop. And then we have had one retirement from today's race, that being the number 96 of Ty Dillon. Again, this caution was brought out by the 47 and the 38, who wrecked coming onto the front stretch from turn 4. And it sounds like we're going to go back to green flag racing here as the engines are roaring. And Eric Almirola takes the field around turns 3 and 4 as the control car. Again, Eric Almirola is not your leader, but instead the last car on the lead lap. Or not the last car on the lead lap, that is Josh Blicky, but these 4 cars in front of Kurt Busch as the green flag is out, and away we go for the second time today to restart this race. Kurt Busch now your leader as Brad Keselowski looks to change that almost immediately, heading into turn 1 and 2. This has really changed up the running order in today's race as Denny Hamlin is all the way back in 8th as Busch gets around the first slower car in front of him, the 52 of Bilicki. As we seem to have had some sort of a slide on the front stretch at the restart, not surprising considering how packed everyone is. We have 22 cars on the lead lap, although Bilicki just unlapped himself, so to make that 23 cars as he really looks to be getting going. The number 2 looks to take that outside lane that is uncontested, although Bilicki does slide up to check up the 2, but the 2 is already in the lead and takes the lead for the first time today in this race as Denny Hamlin is dropped. Denny Hamlin has dropped back. Denny Hamlin is no longer the leading car in those that pit. That would be Michael McDowell in 7th place. Denny Hamlin is now fighting back in 14th in order to maintain top 15 as we have another caution. Oh my, it looks like the 47 has, so we will take a second and go to replay in order to check that out. So as we ride on board here with Stenhouse, who's running in 27th, you see the contact, between the 22 and the 77, which sent the 47 around, and then more contact as the rest of the field came through. The 22 looked to be just trying to get past the 77, the car multiple laps down already, and just was impatient and caused this accident as we now go back to live coverage. And we're back here live with the leaders pitting. This is exactly what that front group wanted as, the 34 stays out. Again, questionable whether he can make it to the end. The 12 is a lap down, so obviously not allowed to pit even if he could. It looks like the 66 got tied up a little bit in this incident, but doesn't seem to have major damage as Timmy Hill is having a fantastic day for that team. And this seems to confirm what I was saying about those cars that hit the first time. It looks like they will not be able to make it to the end, so they are coming back in with the exception of Michael McDowell. So as the field forms up, we still have a good chunk of the field a lap down as everybody but McDowell is pulling into the pits, meaning that most definitely they'll all still be a lap down. Although some cars that have already pit may lose a lap, like the 52 and the 8, if they do not hurry. It looks like, no, they will be good as they are pulling off the number 42. And this is good for them, as since they are no longer like the first cars across the line, they don't have to stop behind the pace car in the front. So they now get to firmly be on the lead lap in the back of the line. As we take a look here on board the very junked number 22, who honestly got what he deserved for not waiting to go past the 77, who was already 2 laps down. As we take a quick run through the top 10 here, we have Michael McDowell, the only car not to pit during this second caution of the day, followed by Kurt Busch, Noah Gragson in a very impressive run for Beard Oil today. Brad Keselowski brings up 4th, with Truex rounding out the top 5. Your top 10 finishes out with Elliott, a massive surprise in Timmy Hill, who is running the race of his career today at North Wilkesboro, in 7th. Kevin Harvick has somehow managed to find his way up into 8th place after running in the mid-20s all day so far as we complete lap 65. Denny Hamlin, your dominant race leader at the beginning of this race, is now down in 9th. And Cole Custer, who is fighting with Hamlin to stay on that lead lap before the first caution, is now in 10th. So this race has taken a very large 180 due to the 2 quick cautions. The first one being between the 38 and the 47 coming onto the front stretch, and the second one involving about 6 cars, including those 2 previously mentioned cars, the 22, the 77, the 3, and I believe the 99, as the 22 turned the 77 coming onto the back stretch. And really nowhere to go for those other 4 cars, as you see caution is still out. But we're going to take a look at the pace car. The lights are out, so we are going back green flag racing at the conclusion of this lap. Michael McDowell is your race leader and has earned those bonus points in today's race. McDowell will be hedging that because he pit under the first caution and because this second stint did not go very long, that he will be able to make it to the end. But we shall find out here at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. We have 34 laps to go in the North Wilkesboro 250. A great return to this historic short track as the green flag is out and McDowell takes the green flag to restart this race for a 3rd time. Or start this race for the 3rd time. 2nd restart. McDowell, a very good jump as the field is single file through the top 10, although Alex Bowman is making a move on the 23 and the 11 dives to the inside of the 4. Another good restart by Timmy Hill, who again is shocking everyone by maintaining his top 10 run, although now he's seeming to slow up as we start the 2nd lap of this run. The field is stacking up because of his slower car being this far up, and that should allow the front 6 to escape from the chasing pack. We have 23 cars on the lead lap today, with the 52 of Josh Bilicki being the last car on the lead lap. The number 12 of Ryan Blaney is your first car 1 lap down due to those quick cautions. You can see here the field is still relatively stacked, with McDowell only having about half a second lead on Kurt Busch as we go 3 wide. Oh, Kevin Harvick got loose, and that allowed the 23 of Wallace around the outside. Now we're going 2 wide. Oh my Lord, is this going to work? Are we going to see an accident here as we go? Is that 3 wide? No, my eyes are deceiving me. Or they're back in the pack. The top 6 are definitely trying to run away as cars are now getting around the slow number 66 of Timmy Hill. Timmy Hill again having that wonderful run for MBM today. As we now start lap 72, McDowell's lead is now down to 1/4 of a second. Those new tires of Kurt Busch is working wonders. Busch is up to the bumper of the 34 and may get him into turn 1 this time, although Noah Gragson's using their fighting in order to close up onto the front 2. Looks like the 2 and the 19 are just waiting for someone to make a mistake so they can pounce as the 11 goes to the inside of the 77, but the 77 has a good run on the outside as the 66 very ambitiously tried to make a move on the 4, backed out, and now may lose a spot to the 17. And the 17 gets a good run around the outside and gets past the 4, who was slowed on the inside lane as we go on to lap 74. 27 laps here at North Wilkesboro. Who will come away with the victory today? Will it be Kurt Busch or Michael McDowell looking as the 2 favorites? Busch looking for his first win of the year for Chip Ganassi, and McDowell looking for his first win in his career, let alone the first win this season. McDowell, despite being the points leader up until this week, has not yet won a race, so McDowell will certainly be looking for that in order to get himself back in the championship fight. See, the battle for the back half of the top 10 is heating up. Oh, as we have contact. Contact between the 13 and the 18 as Kyle Busch is impatiently trying to get back into the top 10. You can see the very beat-up car of Joey Logano currently occupying that 10th position, as Kurt Busch is still about 0.4 of a second behind Michael McDowell. Completing lap 76 with 24 laps to go here of our 100 laps here. We have had 2 cautions so far, both occurring after the halfway mark and after the first round of pit stops. Denny Hamlin dominated the first half of this race, but has been unable to work his way through traffic ever since the first cycle of pit stops. As the risky strategy employed by, I believe, most of the top 5 most of the top 6 right now of staying out after that first caution has seemed to pay dividends. As the 18 has gotten past the 22 4/10 places, we see a few cars trying to get into that front group, but it seems that we have had 3 tandems split off in the top 6, as Elliott looks to make a move on Truex for 5th, and Keselowski's looking to make a move on Gragson for 3rd. Busch is now a bit farther back from McDowell after being right on the bumper a few laps ago, as we look to complete lap 79 here at North Wilkesboro. Ooh, Austin Dillon's car has been in the wars today. He looks to have had some more contact after that last incident in which he really damaged the front end of his car. Let's take a look at the sheet. It looks like the 16 or the 38 and the 47 both retired after that second crash due to damage. Really unfortunate for Stenhouse. Although he wasn't running well, he really had no major mistakes except for getting into the loose number 38 that hit the wall in front of him, as we have a massive slope into turn 1 and 2. Looks like everyone checked up because the 21 had checked up, but now the 5 looks to be going to the inside of the 51 for, I believe this is 14th. Yes, 14th. Although the scoring is putting the 5 1 lap down. I certainly missed that. So it looks like the 5 is not making a move for position as we complete lap 82 here with 18 laps to go. The 34 is still out in front, but again, can the 34 make it on fuel, as now the front 4 have all closed up on each other. Kurt Busch is back to the bumper of the number 34 of McDowell. Again, McDowell just has not been lucky enough to get that victory despite finishing second at the 500 miles of Daytona. Oh, as we have a car stopped out on track, it looks like Ryan Preece has blown an engine. But yet we still have green flag racing. Again, FASCAR, what are you doing? I guess he was able to somehow wheel that car around back into the pits. But that is another just shocking display from the FASCAR race officials. I mean, he must have backed the car down pit road, but we didn't see. I don't know. I apologize, folks, for missing what happened to the 37, although it looked like his engine had blown. So Preece, who moved up into 3rd place with that win last week at Talladega, will most certainly drop out of the top 5 in standings with what looks to be a 33rd place finish today, as the top 4 again are within 1 1/4 seconds, now 1 1/10 seconds, as we go on to lap 86. Quite close here in the closing laps, as we take a quick look at cars farther back in the field. Seem to just run mostly single file. The number 48 of Alex Bowman, after having a great start to this race, has just been mired in traffic ever since, just like the number 11 of Denny Hamlin, who's been able to make no progress back towards the front and now sits in 16th, 11 seconds off the lead. If I would have told you that just 30 laps ago, I wouldn't believe myself, as Hamlin was dominating today's race. As now we move on to lap 88. The front pack of 4 are clear of the 5th and 6th place cars, although they are looking to get back into the picture. The 23 and 17 are still together fighting for 7th and 8th, and Timmy Hill is still holding on to that top 10 finish, as the leader McDowell can start to see lap traffic just a turn ahead of him. The 66 is leading a line that looks to be about 15 cars long. Really doing a great job just parking that car in turns 1 and 2 and 3 in all the turns in order to maintain that position, although it looks like Kyle Busch finally might have a run as the 1 has closed up significantly to the 34, separated a bit from the 62 and the 2. Again, as we approach 11 laps to go, Michael McDowell may not make it on fuel. Again, this, I believe, cost him earlier in the season at Phoenix, where he looked to be fighting for the race victory, but then ran out of fuel late in that race. This may be a repeat. As Kurt Busch just continues to hound the 34. And this hurts the 34 if he's trying to fuel save, because he's got to be full go in order to not let the 1 past him. As we now have 9 laps remaining in this race. We have 23 cars on the lead lap with some more lap traffic in corners 3 and 4. As we have a caution. Caution is out on the racetrack. It looks like we've got a spinner. Ryan Blaney has spun on the front stretch and is still going. So we will quickly catch up with that replay in order to bring the action, or in order to see what happened to Blaney. So we have the replay here as Denny Hamlin got loose. Denny Hamlin got loose out of turns 3 and 4. Just ran into the side of the 12, which forced him into a spin on the front stretch. So again, Denny Hamlin's day just going from bad to worse. Let's see the damage on the 11 here. It doesn't look too bad. A little bit of right side damage from a scrape with the wall, but that is nothing that won't buff out as we go back to live coverage. And we're back with McDowell catching up to the pace car. Again, not pitting. What is McDowell doing? We only have, he's thinking he's got to make it to the end. There's no other reason why he wouldn't pit. We've got, this is the completion of lap 93, which means we've got 7 laps to go. He pit last on, I believe, lap 55. Even with the 2 caution periods, can he make it? I don't know. As we see no takers, at least of the lead lap cars on pit road, everyone pretty confident that they can make it on fuel, as we've got a few cars really slow in the back of the pack. I don't know what's going on there. As the 13, we're just going to let them sort that out and then let you know what exactly is happening back there. As we ride on board with Kyle Larson, now coming to 6 to go. Okay, it looks like the field sorted out. They were waiting for Ryan Blaney to come around and take up his position in line, as he technically crossed the stripe before. As we've got... Oh, no. No, you gotta be kidding me. No. No. Noah Gragson, after having a fantastic day for Beard Oil Motorsports, seems to have lost his engine. And this is an absolute tragedy. Gragson, which really could have used the 3rd place finish today, or at least the top 10 finish, to jump some cars in the points, get closer to the top 20 in standings, has pulled into the pits with apparent engine failure. An absolute heartbreak for that team. That means Brad Keselowski now takes over 3rd position as we come to, I believe, we've got still another lap under the pace car, meaning that we will go green on lap 98 for a 3-lap shootout to end this race. Again, can McDowell make the end of this race? That remains to be seen. So the top 10 is McDowell, then Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, and Martin Truex, and Chase Elliott rounding out your top 5 after Noah Gragson unfortunately had a mechanical problem while under this caution. Bubba Wallace, Chris Buescher, Timmy Hill, Kyle Busch, and Joey Logano round out your top 10, although I very much doubt how long Logano will stay in the top 10 with how damaged his car is. We have 22 cars now on the lead lap, as the 62 has most likely retired from this race due to engine failure. As we now go back up to the pace car to see, yes, it has indeed turned its lights off. So again, we will have a 3-lap shootout. Will McDowell hold on to win this race, his first ever FASCAR win? We shall find out. McDowell may be short on fuel. We do not know, but he's only got 3 laps to hold on to this lead in order to take that checkered flag as the pace car is back into the pits. And we approach the restart zone here in turn 4. The green flag's getting ready to come out, and it is waiting a little bit longer than it did last time. And they're waiting till they get all the way around. Oh, and the green flag's out, and McDowell accelerates. Will McDowell have enough fuel to last these 3 laps as we go on to lap 98 here? We will stay on board with the number 9 of Chase Elliott as we take a look back in the pack. Bubba Wallace with an impressive move for 5th place as McDowell holds on. We go to lap 99 as we take a look, as there are some 2 wide cars in the back of the field. Everyone seems to get through turns 3 and 4 cleanly as we go on to lap 99. 1.5 more laps here, and McDowell's slow. McDowell's slow coming out of turn 2. He's peeling off for the pits. Oh no! McDowell, unable to fuel save, is only 1 lap short. Heartbreak for the number 34. Again, as Kurt Busch takes the white flag. Kurt Busch now takes the lead. Timmy Hill out of nowhere into the top 5. Kurt Busch has to hold off the points leader. Oh, as we have a wreck. We have, oh no, multiple car contact in the back as we now race back to see who wins today's race. Busch maintains the lead into 3 and 4. Comes out of 4. Kurt Busch will win. And fast cars return to North Wilkesboro as the cars cross the line. Michael McDowell finishes, I believe he finished 1 lap down. He might finish on the lead lap. As you can see, a few cars ruined from that last crash as we wait for the final cars to go past the finish as the checker flag was out, but some cars have already pulled onto pit road. We now take you back to a replay of that hectic last lap incident involving the 21 of Matt DiBenedetto, who had been running extremely strong in today's race. So we come back to you as the back of the pack was coming to take the white flag. Looks like Larson got around, took the white flag, then sent it in. Oh, and spun him out. Kyle Larson absolutely destroyed, and then just collected. Oh, my God. The 14. Oh, and the 8 has rolled over. The Richard Childress team today has really had an unfortunate race as we take a look inside the cockpit of Reddick. Just what a disappointing day for the number 8 team as that wraps up our at-track coverage of today's race. And we now take a look at the race results. So, looking at the results, Kurt Busch wins today's race in the FASCAR return to North Wilkesboro, leading 7 laps and winning by just under 0.4 of a second from Brad Keselowski. Keselowski finishes second from a starting place of 12th, a very impressive day from the number 2 machine. Martin Truex, Bubba Wallace, and the surprise of the season so far, Timmy Hill, who has managed to only start, I believe this is his 4th race that he's managed to make, finishing in the top 5. So a great effort from that small team today to finish 5th in a very competitive field. So Chase Elliott, Buescher, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, and Christopher Bell round out that top 10. Denny Hamlin finishes 11th after dominating the first 55 laps of the race and earning the most laps led bonus points. Disappointing day for Michael McDowell, Kyle Larson, Chase Briscoe, and Ryan Preece, as they all had some sort of issue today. Matty D didn't decide to, got absolutely punted by Kyle Larson going on to the final lap. So not really his fault that he finished 20th after running strong all day. Fortunately, we have received word that Tyler Reddick, the car you saw on its roof at that last caution, is okay and has been released from the infield care center. Kyle Larson, finishing 24th, deserves to finish that low after punting the 21 like that. Chase Briscoe just nowhere to go, so he drops back to 2 laps down, finishing 28th. Noah Gragson, absolute just tragedy for him, as he apparently had an issue with his ignition after running in the top 5 for most of today's race. So he finishes a 32nd when he deserved that top 5. And then Ryan Preece, your Dega 500 winner, struggled all day, was running back to back mid of the pack, and then retired with a header issue. And then your 3 other retirements are Anthony Alfredo and Ricky Stenhouse, who both retired due to crash damage suffered in the first 2 cautions, followed by Ty Dillon, who retired with a header issue just 23 laps into this race. So some stats for today's race. There were 4 cautions today, meaning I believe this was the most amount of cautions in a race in the 2021 FASCAR season so far. There were 4 lead changes for 4 different drivers. The fastest lap was ran by Kurt Busch at a 21.689. The number 11 led the most laps with 55, and your 4 leaders were the 1, the 2, the 11, and the 34. And then pole was won by Denny Hamlin in the 11. So after today's race, taking a look at the driver standings, Brad Keselowski has managed to increase his gap on Christopher Bell to 85 points, as Bell finished in the back half of the top 15. Denny Hamlin moves back up into 3rd place. Chase Elliott moves into 4th, tied on points with Hamlin. However, Hamlin with 2 wins has the tiebreaker. Truex, a very good day, moves up 4 spots into 5th. Ryan Preece struggles mightily and drops back into 8th because of his struggles today and his retirement. Cole Custer, Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, and Kurt Busch all stay within the top 10, as Michael McDowell, having that poor fuel strategy call / unfortunate fuel strategy call, ends up dropping from 1st to 11th in only 2 races. Rounding out your top 20, James Early moves back into the top 20 as the rest of the drivers stay put. Chase Briscoe falls out of the top 20 back into 21st. Noah Gragson with a finish that sees him lose 2 spots instead of gaining several, as he would have been in the top 5 with a very good points day. And the same can be said for Matt DiBenedetto, who is now who actually moves up in points because Eric Jones did not make the race today, but should be higher despite the fact because of the fact he was running around the top 10 all day. William Byron drops down to 28th in a real disappointing season for him at Hendrick due to him not even making today's race. And then you see the rest of the field, 34th on down with the part-time cars, minus the struggling Justin Haley, Josh Bilicki, Timmy Hill, Quinn Half, who hasn't made a race in, I believe, 4 or 5 races now, and then BJ McLeod, who sits 200 points behind the next full-time car. So struggles for the 78 this year in their maiden campaign. So taking a look at the team standings, Gibbs still maintains that lead, although it is now under 100 points. It is 85 points between Keselowski and Gibbs. Another team gets their first win, as Chip Ganassi is now the 6th team to win. Every team but Front Row Motorsports in the top 7 has won a race in the remarkable parity that has been shown so far this season in FASCAR. No real movers or losers in today's race, except for Beard Motorsports that just drops below Trackhouse due to Suarez having a better finish than Gragson today. And so that wraps up coverage from North Wilkesboro Speedway. We hope to see you next week. Once again, if you like this content, please give the video a like, the channel subscribe, and a comment on what you think about the season this year. Did the return to North Wilkesboro disappoint? Did it live up to the hype? I think it did. I thought that was a great race. You saw great 2x2 action. And you saw, comers and goers. Denny Hamlin dominated the first 55 laps and then just fell back because of pit call. And, that happens in racing. I thought it was a fantastic race, and I look forward to seeing it on next year's schedule. But that wraps it up for today. Tune in next time for the 10th race of the season, which I really need to memorize the schedule. You would think as the commentator I'd know that. But nevertheless, tune in next time to see some more FASCAR action and who is Brad Keselowski able to maintain that championship lead. So that will be all for today. Have a wonderful day, everyone.